everybody, how's it going? My name's Joey, and I'm here today to start up a YouTube channel. And basically the whole purpose of this YouTube channel is going to be a lot of music, a ton of business, a ton of just good vibe types of things. If you're a professional musician at all, you'll probably get a lot out of this. If you're just somebody just looking to improve your situation in life, this will definitely help you. This is going to be a pretty much unscripted YouTube channel. It's going to be pretty much off the cuff, my thoughts and feelings about things, my takes on things. Of course, I'm not the be all end all in this great wide world, nor do I claim to be. But I am pretty well rehearsed in the School of Hard Knocks. And when it comes to music, that's pretty much it. A lot of us learn by the School of Hard Knocks. So what we're going to go over is just all kinds of questions and stuff, everything from Reddit to anybody kind of asking questions, plus, doing consulting work for bands. If people have interest in contacting me, I will leave all that information down below. And ways of operating a successful cover band, and how to do right by your clients and how to do right by your musicians. So this is going to be pretty much as unscripted, like I said earlier, as I can get. Of course, I'm going to have bullet points of the things that I want to get into and stuff like that. But for the most part, this is just going to be very organic. This right here is my dear friend, my Martin HD 28. Me and this guitar go back to 2012 when I first bought it. Kind of a funny story about that. When I went in, I actually bought this from Guitar Center, and I buy very little from Guitar Center. But this guitar, I buy a lot of electric guitars, sight unseen. We're talking about vintage Gibson Les Pauls. I will buy those sight unseen, and I don't mind. Basically with the Gibson Les Paul customs that I play, I buy them sight unseen because I know if I don't like them, then I can flip them and at least get my money back. If not, make some money on them. We're going to go into a lot of detail about equipment, how I operate with equipment, what I buy, what I sell, how I buy, how I sell. And it's been a big part of my life as a musician. You got to be able to buy gear and you got to be able to sell it. So not everything is going to stick with you in life. Things are going to come and go. Gibson Les Pauls come and go. For the most part, you can play a custom vintage off the assembly line and it could be just a dud. It could be just it just doesn't fit you. It just doesn't fit your style. It just doesn't fit what you're trying to do. It could fit some other dude, it just might. But for whatever reason, it doesn't fit you no matter how hard you try. And you got to let it go. You keep the good ones, you get rid of the bad ones. I'm not a collector, but I've got many. I prefer 1975 to 1980. I don't buy too many past 1980, but I will say that I did buy a 1982 that I loved. Played it and loved it. Couldn't get rid of it. So this is my 2012 that I bought from Guitar Center. I bought another, so I went into Guitar Center and I played about probably 10 guitars. Taylors, Martins, Gibsons. Played them all. For whatever reason, I could not buy an acoustic guitar sight unseen. I don't know why. I don't know what that is with me. But I have to play the acoustic before I'll buy it. And it's very, very touchy, the acoustic guitar. It's very it's just, it just sings to you. And there's nothing like it in this world. And I'm going to go into a lot of detail about acoustic guitar playing and all that. That's going to be another video, that's for sure, because that's a very deep, deep subject. So I bought this one in 2012, and it's not the first one that I bought. I bought another one, this exact same guitar, loved it, and had to have it. So paid them whatever it was to take it home. And but before I could take it home, they were going to put on, a jack for it so I could run a DI. So when the guy went to install the jack or whatever, he started reaming it out, the hole right here, and it cracked the whole top. I couldn't believe it. And I'd already paid for it. And I was just bummed, like you wouldn't believe. So they said, well, we'll just order you another one. I said, no, man. I said, that was the one. And they said, well, we can repair it. And I said, no, I don't want it. They didn't want to give me a break on the price. They didn't want to work with me at all. So I let them order me another one, and I played it. And thankfully it spoke to me like the previous one did. And I'm grateful because this guitar has been with me every step of the way. I have a 1987 Martin HD18 that is very rare, that is my backup. So like whenever this guitar has to go into the shop or whatever, I have another Martin that is my backup, and we'll see that one as well. So this acoustic guitar has been a good old friend to me, and I'm glad I have it. But we're going to get into a lot of stuff about music. I'm going to answer a few questions here that come up on the forums, some questions that people ask me, or just situations that have happened to me in my life. And, basically we'll just go through them and we'll see how it goes. So this first question, I'm going to read it here, is what techniques do you use if all band members are available for a potential gig? My less than efficient method has been to send a group text to bandmates upon learning of a gig opportunity. So basically what this person's saying is, what's the best way to notify musicians, to get them on board with your gig? This person is basically angry because their system is not working. And so let's read here a little bit more. And sometimes replies aren't very timely. Yeah, so good start to this question. I'm going to kind of tackle it in phases here. So there are a few tips and tricks that I can give if you're a band leader and you're trying to, round up musicians, which is similar to herding cats. And herding cats might be easier. So this guy says he wants everybody to give him a schedule of when they're available and when they're not. And if he happens to get a gig on a date where everybody is open, nobody has the date blocked out, then he wants to book the gig. So that's basically what's going on here. And, he says he realizes people have other jobs, vacations, family events. And being the booking person for the band, he is looking for an easier way. Well, I will tell you, there is probably not too many easier ways to do this. The best thing that I have found is to, get contacted for a gig. So here's what the scenario is typically like. A client will check in with you and say, hey, I'm having an event. Would you be interested in playing it? And if so, could you quote this event for me? And here's some information for you to work with. So typically what I do at that point, I don't really have a calendar of everybody's in or out dates. I don't really want to manage that. So what I do is a little bit different. I will basically work with the client to kind of suss out what's going on with this gig. Is it something I even want to do? Because if I go to my band members And if I say to them, hey, oh my God, the most amazing thing just happened to me. I got offered a gig. No, it's not like that. We do a lot of gigs. We get offered a lot of business. So we don't get all crazy and amped up when a gig comes in, because a lot of gigs don't work out, whether it be, they want to go in a different direction, or maybe they want different music. But all that said, if they come to me and we talk about music, we talk about what their vision is for the event, we talk about what's, the age groups of the people, we talk about all these things, where it's going to be, do I want to go out there? And then I kind of start looking at price, kind of start going back and forth with that question a little bit, see how they respond to that. And then once you kind of get to a point where you've sort of, reached an agreement, sort of a rough agreement, while at the same time, you're telling the client, hey, I just got to get this information. Then I will go back and I will check with my players and see if everybody's available. Or in my case, I use several different players at each position. And I just say, let me see if I can get a band together, because that's how I work. I get a band together. So we get to the point where the client says, hey, I'm really interested in everything. So then at that point, I'll put the date on hold for them. And that's kind of what I'll tell them. It's sort of giving them something, right off the bat. You're giving them something. You're giving them a hold, which to you doesn't really mean shit. Doesn't, really amount to much. But to the client, it means a lot. They're like, oh my God, yes, the band's holding it for me. But I mean, and you are, and, then at that point you can give them something, and it just makes people feel good. So once that happens, the first thing I do is I go through my number ones in the band, my number one drummer, my number one bass player, and I go through and I get a hold of them first, and I text them. And here's the thing. If somebody cannot respond to me in a matter of an hour or two by a text message, I don't really think I'll really call them or offer them gigs unless I'm desperate. If I'm desperate and I really want the gig, then I'll go to somebody that maybe doesn't text fast enough, and I'll let them know, hey, I don't really use you all that often because you don't get back to me very quickly. Just so because, if you want to make money in music, I'm a guy who pays a lot of musicians. So for all the musicians out there in the world, I should be their favorite guy on earth. They should pretty much part the Red Sea for me, because I'm the one that gives them money. There are people in life who take money from musicians, and there are people that give money to musicians. So I'm one of the ones that gives money to musicians. So I tell them, hey, if you can't get back to me quickly, then, I'll just move on. So if I don't hear back from my number ones, like in a timely fashion, then I move on to the number twos, and then I even move on to the number threes if I need to. So I kind of get people to hold on their calendars. Now, with that said, when a musician gives me a hold, they abide by it and they give me their word. If they give me their word and then they go back on it, then I let them know, hey, this happened. I mean, if it happens again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to use you. And generally it's like, okay, I screwed up, and yeah, I mean, everybody's a human, and we'll go from there. So you handle everything on a case by case basis. Each person's different. So with me, I send out a message saying, hey guys, can you hold this for me at that point? So then all my players, I get enough players together to put a band on stage. The client may want one singer, they may want two singers. They may want all kinds of different things, but I figure that out. I figured out a price, and then I kind of make them an offer and say, if I can pull this off, would this be something that you would book? And typically it's a yes. So at that point, I get everybody's availability together, and then at that point, I tell the client, I can do a contract now. So at that point, I feel good. I feel like I know what ferries I'm going to need, what hotel rooms I'm going to need, what flights we're going to need, any of those types of things. I know all this before I send out a contract. So next thing I do is I send out a contract. I get that signed. I get the deposit from the client. And then I tell the musicians at that point, hey, that gig you were holding for me on such and such date, that's now confirmed. And then I have a website that is a members only website for musicians that play with me. And they can go to this website, they can see their name is on the gig and everything. So they know, that's the deal. So this guy's basically saying, what can I do? The first thing you can do is you need to work with really pro players. You need to work with good guys. You need to work with people that are going to live up to their word. When they give you their word, they're not going to screw you over a week in advance. Because if you're working with a number 2 guy already, who's not your number 1, and all of a sudden that number 2 guy screws you over and you're on to a number 3 guy, which means that the gig is going to be harder. As you go down the line, these musicians, they get less and less familiar with your gig because these guys are like gigging out with you the least. So kind of a little bit of a long-winded answer for this, but the guy is basically upset because nobody gets back to him in time. Well, you got to get with guys that get back to you in time. And then from there, follow all the steps I just said, and you should have no trouble booking musicians. But if in a perfect world, all musicians would have online calendars that had their open dates and their out dates, it'd be great because, all you'd have to do is if a client called you and said, hey, I'm looking to put on a gig, you look through these guys' calendars and you say, all right, well, I think I can put this together for you. And it might save you a couple steps, but honestly, it's never going to happen like that. I got one guy in my band that does that, and it does make it easier because he plays in like 3 goddamn bands. So it's very easy. And, when he gives me his word, it's done. It's done. The guy's been playing with me since 1998. So there you go. That's kind of how I would handle that. It's a very tough situation, and hope that answers your question. So next question is, nothing more frustrating than when a club ignores a band's request to play at their venue. Let me say that again. Nothing more frustrating than when a club ignores a band's request to play at their venue. Okay, first of all, unless you're Pearl Jam or, Nirvana or any of those groups, the club doesn't owe you nothing. They don't have to give you a place to play. They don't got to do shit for you. What is this deal where bands think that clubs gotta, give them the time of day? They don't give a shit about you. If you bring in 200 people and they drink all night like crazy, then they're going to be blowing up your phone 24 hours a day. In fact, the owner of the club is probably going to be at your front door with a dozen roses. You want to get called from a club? Pack out their club. If you don't know how to do that, then you got bigger problems. That's a problem for another day. But if you're, like my band, if you bring out a dance band and, the club's packed and they're drinking all night, the minute you get done with your gig and you go to collect the money, almost always they will be, hey, we've got this date in 6 weeks. Can you do it? That's how it works. If you're calling them and they're ignoring you, it means they don't like you. Sorry. Says, you think highly enough about their club to hang out there and spend money. Okay. So this guy is now on to saying that his band hangs out in the club that he's trying to get a hold of and they spend money. As if that's something that, okay, we all go in and drink and we patronize your club and we make you all kinds of money. And, we're a good group of guys that, come in and spend money. So therefore you need to book my band. No, that's not how it works. That's not how business works. It's not how a free market works. Sorry. Get good, pack the club out, and they'll be bugging you morning, noon, and night. And he even says, just tell us that you're not interested. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you. They don't owe you anything. They don't even probably listen to your messages. And if you aren't getting a response, I'll go into this a lot later with musicians and auditions and stuff like that. If the people don't contact you back, they don't like you. Sorry. I wish I could put that a different way. They don't want anything to do with you. They don't think you're good. They don't think you're going to pack the club, or they don't think you can do the gig. They don't think you can be a sub player. They don't think you can be a good player. Auditions and clubs, it's kind of the same thing. Nobody cares. They care about money. That's it. All right, this next guy says, on a break, a lady told me to play Sweet Child of Mine. Told me, didn't ask me. And the musician says, I said no. She told me she would pay me $10 to play it. I told her I'd pay her $20 to stop asking me and shut up. I guess what he's trying to say is that somebody was trying to give him money to play Sweet Child of Mine, and he decided against it. And to stop asking me, and to basically, shut up and go away. Okay. So let's back all the way up. So if you're a musician and you're playing at a club, you're typically going to get asked by all kinds of people to do all kinds of strange things. That's another video for another day. And if they ask you to play a song and you don't know it, just let them know. Just say, no, I don't have that song down tonight or ready to go. And that's the end of it. Or if you do know it, you can be nice and you can play it. Sometimes it's not always good to do that, because just because you know a song doesn't mean that you should do it. Like if you're playing a rowdy club, where the songs are like Katy Perry and Bruno Mars, and somebody asks you to play, like a 70s song, that may not be what the crowd's getting into. Maybe it's slower, those types of things. What I'll typically do is if I know it, but I don't feel like it's right for the event, never compromise the event ever. I don't give a shit what this person is asking me to do. If they offer me $100, then, that's another thing. You have to handle each thing as a case by case basis. Maybe you play like the first half of it, shut it down, take their money and call it good. But if you do know it and it would go over well, then just play it. This guy sounds like a douche to me. If you are that put out by somebody asking you to play music, what are you doing in this business? Why are you playing music? Are you that put out? Are you that angry? Are you that upset that you get up and play guitar for a living? Or you probably this guy probably doesn't even play guitar for a living. He probably mows lawns during the day and plays gigs at night. Obviously this person's jaded. It could be a multitude of reasons why this person ultimately is burned out. So, dude, if you're burned out, maybe go try something else. It's about the best I could say.